All right, guys, here's part 2 with Matt Barrie from Freelancer, and he's talking with us about traffic, SEO, and the realities of getting funding for internet companies back in the 2000s.
The first thought I had immediately was, this just solves all my problems, which was, I wanted to start a company, but I didn't want to hire people that I knew. And I didn't have any money, because I just walked out of my last business. So I was just like, well, I can afford these people because I can hire them on a credit card and I can get all these jobs done. And I thought, this is incredible. And then I thought, gee, what should I build with this resource? And I thought, I kind of like this website. Maybe I should build a website like this website. And then I thought, this is kind of like eBay. And I thought, why hasn't eBay done this? It's like a marketplace global marketplace for services, and you had a global marketplace for products in eBay. And I thought, surely this is a big market. Like, this is just huge, the size of this potential market. Like, I mean, I couldn't even actually, I was discombobulated thinking how big of a market this was. And I thought, am I missing something? Am I not thinking properly? And then I just went down and said, okay, well, I'll build my own business, my own website like this. So I started a website called bititout.com. And I can program, but I can't design. And I need people to do data entry and market research and a bunch of things like that. So after about 2 weeks, I had a rudimentary site that kind of worked a little bit. I could promote it in certain areas, and I was getting jobs sort of trickling in by 3 or 4 a day. And I thought, okay, well, to do this properly, I need to go raise some money, and I need to, how much should I raise? And this is 2007, so this is before the whole Y Combinator phenomenon, and the whole, build a website for 50 grand and 4 people in a room with noodles and pop out the other side. This is back in the classical sense of, how many millions of dollars do I need to raise to give me 18 months runway and all this other stuff like that. So I did a bit of back of the envelope sort of calculation, and I worked out I could probably need to raise about $4 million and hire a certain number of people. I had this fantasy at one point where maybe I could hire all the people through the website, and then that way I wouldn't actually have to have any physical staff. I could just sit at home and build a big company. That would be pretty amazing if I could do that. And so I kind of did a bit of market research, and there were dozens of competitors out there that had no traction, just the same size as bititout.com or a little bit bigger. And I thought, well, there's about 12 that have some sort of traction. And I thought, no one's really set the world on fire, but no one's going to fund me to be number 13 in the space. That's not a really good, viable business plan, right? So I thought maybe I've got to buy someone and get to market quicker. And that suited my psyche at the time, because I'd just been through 6 years trying to get to the first couple million in revenue, and I just didn't have. I thought, I just don't have the patience or willpower to do another 6 years and get to 2.5 million in revenue. I can't do that. Rather be 12 years of early stage startup land. So then I thought, okay, maybe I'll contact a bunch of these guys and see if any of them wants to sell to me. And about half a dozen of them said, yeah, interested, and sent me some stats through. And ironically, the best one was Get a Freelancer, because it had the most traffic. Had the most traffic because it had nailed SEO. And I found it through SEO, right? So I said, how much do you want? And he actually wanted less money than the $4 million I was going to raise. And I was doing $1 million in revenue. I had 500,000 users, and it was 5,000 biggest website in the world, right? And so then I thought to myself, well, gee, if I buy this, I've got a head start on everything. And then I went out and tried to fundraise. And that's when the problem with walking out the last business didn't help, because every door I knocked on was like, okay, what happened at Sensory? You walked out of that business, etc. I had a fight with the venture capitalists. I'm sure there'd be a bunch of phone calls back to the VC saying what happened, and Matt said this as you walked out, $30 million MBA, etc. And then I thought, okay, I've got to think of alternative ways to raise money. I saw a bus go by with an ad for Commonwealth Bank business loans. So I called the Commonwealth Bank hotline. I think it was like 8% or 11% for a loan. And the guy on the phone actually said, oh yeah, I've heard of this website, Get a Freelancer. Yeah, that sounds great. I'll tell my boss. Then I got a phone call half an hour later saying, we will never ever lend you money to buy a website. But if you want to set up a shoe store or a news agent, let us know, because you've actually got some assets we can kind of secure against the debt. But I tried everywhere. You go to like the big investment banks. The great thing about the big investment banks is they'll always give you a deal. It might be a shit sandwich, but there's a deal on the table. And so, I started to get a little bit of traction with people maybe going to put some money in, but it took me a long time. What I'd done was I'd gone back to the first guy. I said that there was the guy was selling the business Magnus, and I'd said to him, "Listen, I'll give you in 45 days what you want in terms of the money, if I can't get it in 45 days, I'll help you sell it to the next guy for twice the price, which is kind of win-win. So we got that locked away on paper with the price, but I had to extend it a couple of times. And let me tell you, there were many times where it just went dead for months on end because I just couldn't get the money together and so forth. And I thought, okay. And literally, I remember times I was at home going, should I try and resurrect this deal? Like, am I wasting my time? Am I flogging a dead horse? Is this, and you tell people about the concept, and they're like, did you know that you could get someone in Bangladesh to build your website for $50?
Yeah.
Back then it was like, where's Bangladesh? Do they have computers? Do they speak English? All sorts of questions like that. Now it's obvious. You can go online and hire people around the world. But back then it was just very much, and they look at the website and they go, what is this? And it was run by a Swedish guy living on a fish farm in Vanuatu, right? And it was just
Obviously.
like, hey, what is this? Like it just didn't make any sense to anyone. So took a long time, and eventually I thought, I got to get some credibility around me. I'm a team of one. And there was a guy by the name of Simon Clausen, who's one of Australia's top entrepreneurs. He started a business called PC Tools. He ultimately sold that to Symantec for a lot of money. And I knew him because I was trying to get his software for antivirus on my chips. And we're trying to tentatively think about, could we build a product out of that? And that went nowhere, but I knew he'd sold his company. I said, you know about consumer internet, you've got some credibility there, do you want to go on the board? He goes, yeah, sure. So I went to a few meetings with investors, and they spent all their time trying to get Simon to put money into their funds as LP rather than anything else. And eventually he just cracked the shits and he said, I'll just give them money. And I didn't register with me that he actually had a lot of money. Like, I knew he sold his company, but I didn't actually think about how much money. He made a lot of money, right? Oh, wow. And so the first thing he did when he got out of lockup from the sale is he wrote a check. I got the business. And then from there, it was just, everyone told me how shit the website was. I said, great, tell me exactly what's shit about it. I'd write it all down. And then I just go back and fix it one by one by one by one by one. And at the early days, I was just doing the programming. I mean, the most amazing thing about this business was I loaded the PayPal app on my phone. And I think at the time we were doing about $300,000 a day. And so it was like a little poker machine. I got a PayPal app and the thing was just spinning around, whatever. And I'd be at the bar with my friends having a beer. I go, hey, I'm going to go order a beer, but by the time I get back, this will be up by a couple of $1,000. Go, look, I showed you. And they go, what is this thing, right? Wow. And, and it really took a life of its own over, just fixing problems. I'd load up some graphs and GNU plot and kind of see what was going on. And the more I could fix, the more money it made. And eventually I could hire someone on $20 an hour. That's the beginning.